You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh my god, I can hardly hear you.
You're listening to The Spirit Dimension with your host, Kerry Greenaway, right here on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Spirit Dimension. Oh my goodness, we are running by the skin of our teeth tonight. Tonight I am joined in the studio by a previous guest we've had on, the lovely Clare Hinks. Good evening, Clare, how are you?
Good evening, Kerry. I am sailing by the skin of my teeth, as you say. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And we're also joined by somebody I know from online, and it's been an absolute pleasure connecting and talking to her, and that's the lovely Cheryl McGregor. Good evening, Cheryl.
Hello, Kerry. It's fabulous to be here, and thank you for the invite.
Oh, you're very, very, very welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure actually talking to you and getting to know you a little bit more from what we see on the social media side of things.
Oh, yes, because there's always more behind the scenes than what you see on Facebook.
Always more behind the scenes. Now, you very first started your journey way back in 2002.
Oh, yes, I did. Which
Can
seems
you
like
tell us a little bit about how you started? Let's start at the beginning.
At the beginning, and I might get sidetracked. You might need to pull me back in because that's what happens with me. Yeah, I started way back, and that's quite frightening now to think of 2002. And it was through Reiki of all things. I was in a particularly bad place. I was going through a really bad bout of depression. I was on antidepressants and everything that goes with. And it's one of these chance encounters, and I put chance encounters in air brackets, that I was given a little taster session of Reiki. It's somewhere local. They were just doing a taster evening. And I had such a profound experience with it because I actually felt as if somebody was sitting on my chest and getting heavier and heavier and heavier to the point I couldn't breathe, and I was turning puce in colour. And then she got to her feet and grounded. And rather than scare me off, it was a case of, I need to know more. I must know more about this. So I actually went for treatment for about 2.5 years. I threw the antidepressants away, didn't go to my doctor, nothing. Don't do that, folks. I really wouldn't recommend it. And it was from that point onwards that I sort of opened up to learning more about chakras, learning more about energy, becoming fascinated and reading everything I could about Reiki that I could find. So after 2.5 years, the lovely lady I was going to had said, have you ever thought of learning for yourself? And I thought, you're trying to get rid of me. But no, it wasn't quite like that. So again, another chance encounter, a chance conversation where I was working at the time was that somebody that I knew or knew of was a Reiki master, and she was going to be doing courses. So I went along. And within the space of 3 years, I was up to master practitioner. And as you do, you stop using it. It just switches off completely. So I had a gap, quite a few years, and then other things started creeping in. So it was a lot of work with elementals, finding like-minded people and all the rest of it. Then in 2011, so that's a bit of a jump forward, I was doing a guided meditation to see if you had any elemental guides and guardians. And this little dragon popped in, and it was for about a second that I saw him. Just popped in for a second. popped back out, and I didn't see him for about a year, but I knew he was there, so I was just conscious of it. Fast forward again a couple of years, and I've been doing a lot of courses. I was doing all sorts of meditations and this, that, and the next thing, and I was getting quite embroiled with a group. And then, as happens, you start to realise that your sort of 3D life does not match where you are energetically. Mm-hmm. So it was making me more and more depressed again. So I had another bout of depression, but this was a really, really bad one. This actually was full-blown breakdown with full paranoia, the works, which I would never wish on anyone. And it got to the point that I simply couldn't continue to work when I was working. So after 16 years of working where it had been, I had to make a jump. And it was a huge big leap of faith because I didn't know what I was going to be doing. It was a very secure job. It would have been a job for life. It was well paid, but I just couldn't do it to myself anymore. So I jumped. And it's the scariest thing I have ever done in my life, was just make this massive leap. And a lot of people who do what I do or do similar to what I do will tell you they did exactly the same thing, and it is the scariest thing you can do. But I knew it'd be all right. So it took me a good 6 months or so to kind of sort myself out from the mental breakdown, which we now call a breakthrough, not a breakdown, because that's what it was. And it was fantastic because the doctor I'd gone to see said, we could give you chemicals for this. And I was like, no, I don't want that. And she had said to me, meditation and exercise. And I was like, pardon me? This is a doctor telling me this? But she was right. That's exactly what I needed. So I gave myself time. I gave myself the 6 months. And during that 6 months, I had other things going on energetically. I had to pull myself away from a group of people. I had a whole load of energy in my system that shouldn't have been there. So I had to get it cleared out, had things reversed out. All the sort of the cruddy stuff that can happen when you're in quite a vulnerable space. And then in 2014, the dragons start coming forward again quite powerfully. And they were there all the time, and they were making themselves known, and they were coming through what I was doing. They were showing me how different ways to work and to connect with them. But it was this thing of, don't talk about us, don't mention us, keep us very quiet. So I kept doing that. So I launched myself as a self-employed person in 2014, but it was purely Reiki. It wasn't anything else. Because between that time and between 2000 and, must have been 2014, I was then attuned up to Angelic Reiki Master Teacher. I finished my Usui Reiki after a 7-year gap as well. So that's what I was concentrating on. But that's not where I was going. So things started to change. And then in October 2014, they said, right, you can talk about us now. Pardon me? No, you can talk about us now. You can launch it. We want you to do this, this, and this. You have no idea how many times I questioned that. I made sure, because I have this thing about, if I will sense check energies before I take them forward, I'll sense check them through myself and make sure that what I'm working with is what I'm working with, because I'm fully aware of some false energies out there, because of course I kind of got caught up in all this. And the amount of times I questioned it, people would be laughing if they actually saw what I was like back then, saying, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure? Tentatively put it out there, and it exploded. And that's been it since that point. Other things have come in, other ways of working have come in. I talk about it very freely now. So yeah, and they are with me constantly. They never go away. And I've said to Kerry before, it's like herding feral cats when you do actually start to work with them, because they have you jumping left, right and centre. You think you're going one way, and then they deviate and say, no, we want you to do this, 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 this and this. And you're like, not a human person. One at a time, please. I can't do all this. So it's exhausting. It can be frustrating. All sorts of things where you're pulling your hair out, but I wouldn't be without them. Absolutely wouldn't be without them, because they've got me to where I am right now. And where I am right now is a completely different person to when I started out in 2002. I mean, I know that's only, 15 years, but that's a heck of a change in 15 years. Because even people who I've known for a long, long time turn around and say, you're not the same person. It's like, I should blink and hope not, because it might not work.
Yeah, we've spoken about this before, haven't we, Claire, as well, with that evolution that you go through, that progression that you go through. And also, Claire actually had quite a gap as well from where she started working to working now. So Claire can really resonate with that, can't you?
I can, yeah. I had a big gap between when I started working as a medium, I was about 14, and I had a gap of about, well, I was about 14, and then I left school, and I didn't really do anything with it probably for a good at least 10 years, and then all of a sudden it was always there. It was always a part of me, you know. You, like you were just saying, totally resonate with that. It's in the background, you know, they're there in the background, maybe not necessarily making you do anything or making you work, but you're just aware that they're there, and they're not always in a position for you to say, actually, I'm hearing this, or I'm hearing that, or I need to tell you this. It's not always, you can't always do that, can you?
No. Sometimes it's difficult to actually decipher what you're hearing or to try and translate it as well, because it can be quite garbled, or it could just be like nanoseconds here and there, and you're like, did I imagine that? Or did I actually hear that? Because you've got that when you're starting out as well. It's like, is that my imagination, or did I actually just hear that?
And there's a really fine line between what's real and what's your imagination, isn't there? I say that to people a lot.
And it's trying to discern it as well. You do build up the experience when you keep working with it till you know what you're sensing and all the rest of it. But at the very beginning, I must have been spinning all over the place. But I know I was, because I couldn't control that train of thought. It's been an interesting journey. I know that's a really trite comment to make, but it has been. Yeah.
Well, what you mean to say is it's been an interesting journey so far.
Yes, because it's changing again, and it has done in the last 2 years as well. Because Kerry will know this one, and the folk that know me on Facebook will know this one as well, that for the last couple of years it's not just dragons. Oh no, I've got dinosaurs coming in as well now. And the amount of sense checking I've had to do in that energy is ridiculous. And then they've just asked in the last, month and a half or so for their information to start coming forwards as well. And it's all this, have a sense checked it? Does this resonate? Is this right? To the point that if I'm working doing other stuff, they jump in and I have to sort of knock them back and go, no, we're not doing this right now. Please go away. So yeah, that's even more confusing, that one, when you've got another energy trying to come forward in this already confusing energy. It's like, okay, which way am I jumping today? Who am I speaking to today? So I don't know if you agree, or Kerry, or what you think about dragon energy, because you and I haven't really discussed it, have we?
No, and I actually am doing a crystal grid at the moment with dragon energy, and it's not something I've worked with before. It's incredibly interesting, I will say that. I actually had a lady come to me at an MBS and who actually works with dragon energy, and she wants this crystal grid, and it's really strange. I was talking earlier about synchronicity to somebody, and it's really strange how this has now come in, and I'm like, okay, this is weird, because I'm getting different things come up in regards to dragons now, and it's like, I've not worked with this, and quite frankly, I kind of never connected with it because it doesn't resonate with me. We all have different things that people do. We find this in the field. People resonate with different things, and 9 times out of 10 they go, you're going to think I'm absolutely bonkers, but this is who I'm working with, or this is the energy that I'm working with, which, is quite a common thing, isn't it, in our field?
Absolutely. I mean, these are not the things you expect. If somebody had told me 15 years ago I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have just said, you're lying and you're mental and I'm not listening to you. But yeah, it's a fascinating one, because as soon as you sort of open the door to these guys and you see a little chink in your armour, they're in. Mm-hmm. And you'll have so much stuff thrown at you. It's dragon left, right and centre, to the point where you just be like, whoa, you're not my normal key energies I work with. Take a little step back, please, because they do get quite enthusiastic, is the word I will use, especially if you're new to them or they're new to you, because it's this checking out of each other's energy thing that they do as well. So they chuck everything in the kitchen sink at you.
So I acquired a couple of dragon heads. One's smoky quartz,
nice,
and one is citrine. And when I got them, I just felt so drawn to them. There, I did have a bit of a meditation with the smoky quartz dragon, which I'm actually have in my hand now. and he's so, or she. I had a meditation, and I totally felt totally felt it. Exactly what you're saying about, they pop in, like she popped in and gave me all this random information, which I wrote a lot of it down at the time. But apart from that, I haven't really experienced anything else with my dragon energy, so to speak. But I feel ever so drawn, like before I work as a medium, or very often when I'm working, I will have it on the table because I just feel like it needs to be there.
Well, all I'll say is give it time, love, because you've opened the door to them. Because if they know that you are open to them coming in, they will come in. But they'll come in, how to phrase this, if you've got quite strong boundaries and in place, they will be respecting that. So if you've got boundaries saying that you don't allow in energies until you've sense checked them and all the rest of it, they will respect that. So they'll come in on your terms. And I'd actually say that to folk. If you are interested in working with them, you do need to have quite strong boundaries, and you kind of need to stick to them, because it can be quite a seductive energy to start with. You think, oh yes, everything can come in, it'll be fine, it's this, it's the next thing. But if you're that open, there is this fake dragon energy about that can attach in as well, and it will, on the surface, and you know what this is like, Kerry, I know exactly what I'm talking about. On the surface, it will look and sound and feel exactly what it's supposed to be, but then every now and again you get this little thing going, this doesn't quite feel right, or that's not what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. So you have to be pretty careful with this, and I do say that to everyone, is just learn to trust your discernment and your gut instinct on these ones, because it can lead to not problems, but there's nothing that can happen that you can't fix. But it can take you down a slightly different path that you maybe don't want to be on. But again, if that is part of your learning, is to experience the fake stuff, so be it. I had to go through this whole rigmarole of getting really sucked into it, so I can see the difference and spot the difference for the work I do with other people now, because without that I couldn't do what I'm doing. So I had to go through some really crappy stuff to have the empathy and the understanding of going forward what I'm doing with other people, and for myself as well, to be fair. But when they first start to come in, they're lovely. If they start to come in more and more, they kind of challenge you. They do challenge you. They'll challenge what your beliefs are. They'll challenge what your understandings of things are. They really are pretty much about facing your stuff. And they don't do it subtly. They will say, right, here's a problem, deal with it. Mm-hmm. Because it's all about this. Mm-hmm. How to phrase this without swearing, because I'm very conscious I'm not going to be swearing tonight, and a lot of people will be laughing as I'm saying, because I'm well known for swearing, so I'm going to behave.
If it pops out, we are marked as explicit, so don't worry too much.
Because they do make me swear quite a lot, but I'm like that in life anyway, so that's just our sense of humour. But they do plonk things in front of you, and they will bring things up to the surface very, very, very quickly when you do start to work with them a lot. So just be prepared for that. It's not a bad thing. It's just a slight acceleration of maybe where you're comfortable with. But again, if it's the right time for you, it'll happen regardless whether it's them or it's another energy anyway. So they'll just facilitate it that little nanosecond faster.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
we have had a question from people that don't know and haven't worked in this way before now. Could you explain the dragon energy specifically?
I can explain how it feels to me, because it's the same with all these kind of elemental energies. People will connect in differently, and it will feel different to different people because they have different aspects. For me, it felt like coming home. That's the best way I can describe it. It absolutely felt like coming home, because at the time I was working with a lot of sort of elemental energies as it was. I'm very connected with the planet. I do a lot of earth work, so I was quite used to that anyway. But this just felt as if I had clicked back into myself. And when this first guide, I'll call him a guide because that's essentially what it was, popped forward, I was like, you're very familiar to me and I don't know why. And it stems back to when I was a kiddie, about 5 or 6, I had a fascination with dragons and dinosaurs. I had this fascination when I was little, but it switched off, as it does when you go to school and you start to have science coming in and all the other subjects coming in, so things get turned off. But for me, the dragon energy itself, I don't want to use the word fierce, that's the wrong word. They are quite composed, they're quite serious, But then when you start to get to know them, there's this sense of humour that comes out. For me, this is how I connect with them. There's this really earthy sense of humour, which is what keeps me grounded, which is what, if things are not quite going so well, they'll come in and take the mick, and that brings me back into myself again. There are other people who connect with different aspects of dragon energy. So there are some people who connect with almost the childlike joy part of it. I connect with the more blunt side of things, just because of the work that I do. The work that I do with others is not particularly pleasant. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's not who I am. It's a lot of clearing and removal of stuff. And as they put it, and I am about to swear, they don't put shit in and they take shit out. That's their role. So that's how I connect with them. They are a part of me. I am a part of them. So that's why I'm saying it's this coming home type of energy. I couldn't even explain it now, how it first came in, how it felt, because it's so long ago now that I can't really recall that. But because they're with me all the time, it's a natural energy for me. It's I get up in the morning, they're there. Whatever I do, they're there. If whatever work I'm doing, they're there. Regardless of what work I'm doing, they come in, regardless of what I'm doing. If I'm doing angelic Reiki for someone, they come in. Whatever I'm doing, they're there. Yeah, so some people will connect with different aspects. So if, say, for example, you have an interest in them, and all of a sudden you start seeing pictures of them, or you start seeing people posting about them, or they start popping up on the telly, or all the rest of it, that's usually a sign that they're just going, hello, we are here, we are trying to connect with you. If you feel comfortable with it, go with it. If you don't feel comfortable with it, just say, you're not for me, but thanks very much, because not everybody will connect with them. They're not for everybody. A bit like myself, I'm not for everybody, they're not for everybody. So if you are meant to connect, you will. If you're not meant to connect, you won't. And it'll just sound like a big gobbledygook, and not for me, that's fine. Other people will step into that role. Because if I didn't do what I did, and I had run away from this connection because it was overwhelming at the very, very, very beginning, they would have found the next person that could channel them. They would find the next person that could work with them. Because there's loads of people out there. I'm not the only person who does it. And I make no claims to be an expert or anything. I just know how I work with them.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't answer the question. It sounds a bit wishy-washy, but I can only explain it from how they connect with me, and just say, if you start getting these sort of synchronicities popping up with dragons or any other being, to be perfectly blunt, how does that feel in your gut? Is it something you're comfortable with? Is it something you're uncomfortable with? That's the decision you have to make to start with.
So
there are certain energies. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I can relate to what you're saying, actually, because I've had unicorns recently. I've acquired. Shh, don't tell my husband. And a unicorn head made of labradorite, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I just saw it, and I was like, my God, that, you know, I just knew that I had to have it. Yeah. I can't explain it.
It's one of those,
that feeling.
Yeah, it's one of those really strange things, because unicorn energy and I don't tend to work together. There's one aspect of unicorn energy that will come in, but I know other people who do work with them, and they are phenomenal at what they do. I just know it's not right for me.
It's super new to me, to be honest. I just went with my gut, and I bought that, and then I happened to be in a shop where I wasn't looking for anything spiritual. I just happened to be in a shop, as you are, randomly, and there was tarot cards. There was a shelf with some tarot cards and some other cards, archangel cards, and there was, funnily enough, unicorn oracle cards, or whatever they are. I think they're called. And I was like, well, they must be for me.
Just so happens they must be for me. I think with these kind of elements, it is a very elemental energy. As I say, I've not worked in the way that Cheryl does with dragon energy. So for me, working with that now, they are very, very elemental. So you get the four elements coming through with each type of energy. So you have those four elements, earth, air, fire and water, coming through, and they are a force. They're not they're not something like you said, to be trifled with, particularly And that's just working on a crystal grid that I'm finding. So
that's there you go.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I've found, and I found since I've started working this grid, and it's been a bit of for me, it's just been a bit of a journey in itself, because I couldn't get my head around. When I work grids, generally I'll get images and the crystals, because I work crystals obviously, come into my head, and then I'll start seeing the grid evolve in my head before it gets done. I couldn't get that start. And then literally, I was talking to a friend the other day, and she gave me this, it's a bone, and it just looked like a dragon's head.
Yes.
And I had it in my hand, and I was just like, literally had it in my hand, and then ping, the grid popped up in my head, and then the crystals that linked into the energies popped into my head, and I now know what I'm doing with it. So for me, then I started working, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is different, because I'd not worked with it before. And it's a force to be reckoned with. Now, there is that crossover, Cheryl, isn't there? Because you do a lot of work with like carved crystal skulls and dragon head crystal skulls.
Yes, I do. It's an interesting one, because you're either drawn to them or you're not. How to say this? How to say this without offending anyone is always a complicated one. Yeah, I started out. I was gifted a dragon skull, a beautiful lapis dragon skull, and she is not for the faint-hearted. So the very first carved dragon skull I was gifted, she kicks my backside on a regular basis. Absolutely kicks my backside on a regular basis. Keeps me very grounded. Doesn't let my ego take over. Doesn't let anything like that take over, because she'll pull me back down to where I need to be. But my dragon skull collection will fluctuate anywhere between 20 and 40 at any given time, because they don't always stay. Some of them move on quite quickly, or they move about. At last count, which was this morning, there's about 30 in the house. And these are the carved ones, the natural ones, because a lot of crystals are natural dragons. But it's interesting because I've got dragon skulls, I've got star beings, and I've got dinosaur skulls. I've got bird skulls as well, and they all work together. They all complement each other, because there's a lot of people out there who I utterly respect who work with crystal skulls, and the information and the work that they do is absolutely phenomenal. But I couldn't, till about 2-3 years ago, I couldn't look at a crystal skull. I couldn't meet its eyes, because it would freak me out, and it was like, that's a step too far for me. And I'm thinking, you work with dragons, and that's a step too far. But anyway. They all work together, and I've found that they all like to grid together, or they'll all hold space together, or they all match up differently, and it's whatever they're doing. They don't care about the vessel. As long as they're doing the work, they're quite happy. But like yourself, if I'm doing any grid work, they show me what they would like, and they do not stop until I get it perfect. So my conservatory floor, which is quite big, has had I don't know how many super grids up on it, and I'm walking over it, the cat's weaving in and out through it as well, and I'm like, you must think I'm crazy. Why am I doing this? Why have I got this floor covered in crystals? Mm-hmm. But it's the work that they're asking me to do, or the work that they're doing through me. I'm just the person moving the crystals about. But it is an interesting one, because through all this work I've become more and more and more grounded. I don't want to sort of go, when I'm working with certain energies, I don't try and fly off planet. I am really grounded to this planet. And it's quite a humbling experience when you do work with them, actually. The energy that they hold, the wisdom that they hold, and you're thinking, I'm just this little human, and you're wanting to work with me? You sure? Can I handle this? And you can. You absolutely can. But it's an interesting one, because the energies from the different carves and all the rest of it are all very different to one another, because I don't just have one type of carve for the dragon skulls. I've got umpteen different carves, loads and loads of different carvers. They come from all around the world. And yeah, the energy, it just works. It just works for me. They gave me an analogy once, and that people who have crystals will understand this. They said that skulls are like spheres. They radiate outwards. Starries are like hearts, and that's the energy they hold. And they said, and dragons are like points, so it's very, very focused, extremely focused. And when you're in that focus, you can't really get back out of it. If they've got more than one horn on them, you can imagine the kind of focus that you're putting attention into as well, and intent into. So yeah, the the crystal skull, the dragon skulls are an interesting one to work with. I won't be without them. I have some that are for life. They've been told, if you ever decide that you want to move on, you can turn into an ornament, but you're staying put, you're not going anywhere. And the others, it's a case if you ask to move on, you can move on. I absolutely honour that. I'm just a temporary caretaker at this point. But yeah, because some of the etherics will pop into skull form, some of them will pop into crystal form, others just etheric. It's really confusing at times, really, really confusing. So it's trying to navigate and interpret all that. Takes a bit of time.
So for those people that may not be completely getting what you're saying about the dragon energy and how you connect with it.
Yes.
For me, I obviously have guides. Do you have guides as well as your dragon? Dragons?
Yeah, I don't just work with dragons. I just put that out there. There's lots of different energies I work with and work through me. My predominant energies I work with are dragon energies, and I have, I don't know how many guides and guardians in that etheric realm that look after me and help me and guide me and teach me. But I have other guides and guardians as well, so it's not just them. There's a whole plethora of them that all work together. So depending on what I'm doing at any given time or what I'm being asked to do at any given time, those energies step forward first.
Yeah.
So whilst they are the predominant one, they're not the only one. So I do have different guides as well.
Yeah. I totally relate to what you're saying, because that's kind of what happens for me too. Yeah. So I do understand what you're saying.
Cool.
Very much so. Now, coming off that subject just a little bit, there was a blog that you posted recently. It wasn't your blog, it was somebody else's blog. And we was talking about, the blog itself was basically mapping somebody's journey through. And again, talking about a breakdown going into a breakthrough on a spiritual level, which you yourself went through, didn't you, Cheryl?
Oh, gosh, yeah. It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. People always have this assumption when they first start out on this road that everything's going to be light and fluffy, everybody loves each other, everybody's wonderful. No, it's the hardest work you will ever do is when you start doing your own self-work. And I had a complete breakdown. I had a complete and utter mental breakdown, full paranoia. I didn't know if I was coming or going, and it took me a long time to come back from that, but it had to happen that way. Mm-hmm. It had to happen that way. Hindsight is a fabulous thing because it gives you 20/20 vision when you look backwards. But at the time, you haven't got a clue what's going on. You don't know which way's up, what your name is some days. Getting out of bed is just the most horrendous thing you ever got to try and do that day. But they helped me make sense of it, which sounds, and I know how it sounds to people who maybe don't work with this energy. I know exactly how that sounds. I've had this conversation with other people. I get it sounds crazy, but it works for me. It kept me sane. It put me back on track. It gave me the stability I needed to climb and claw my way back out of that really horrendous depression and breakdown that I found myself in because I just couldn't cope anymore. So yeah, it's always an interesting one, that. But that blog that I shared, it was a lovely lady out in New Zealand, I think she is. And it was so raw and it was so honest and so brutal. And it was like, yes, I have been there. I have been that person. And it was just the relief of knowing it's not just me who's having these feelings, who's going through this really horrible time, but then gets a little glimmer of a chink of light coming in. Mm-hmm. And that's what you aim for. That's what you cling on to. It's like, even if you don't see that chink of light for another 3-4 months, you know what happened, so it can happen again. And it's just trusting and handing over to that and thinking, you know what, I can keep going. I don't have to stop here. I can keep going. And it gets better. But I wouldn't wish what I went through on anyone, even the people who over time I've moved away from or I've had issues with. I would never wish that on anyone. It was horrific, absolutely horrific.
Okay.
Sorry,
Claire, we're going to just take a quick break. We will come back to this topic, so bear with us. We're just going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are. to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Welcome back to the Spirit Dimension. Tonight I'm joined in the studio by the lovely Clare and the lovely Cheryl as well. Now, before we took that quick break, we were talking about a blog that was written and how it's referred to as a breakthrough rather than a breakdown. And we heard how Cheryl read that and it resonated incredibly well with her own journey. Clare, you read that blog too, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It was really interesting, and I didn't have time, sadly, to read the whole thing, but I skipped over it, and you have part of the spiritual journey is the more people I talk to, the more people I realise go through so much crap, and you have to go through the crap to come out the other side to be able to share whatever it is that you have, whether it's mediumship or healing or dragon energy or whatever, whatever it is, whatever your gift is, crystal gridding, whatever it is, you have to go through stuff, bad stuff, to be able to share with other people, to be able to help other people get through their bad stuff, because you have to be able to relate to them. And the more I do, the more I seem to realise, that spirit particularly all the time want me to help people. They want me to explain to people, resonate with what they're going through now. I've, in the grand scheme of things, I'm very lucky. I've had a pretty good life, I think. Do you know what I mean? I haven't, compared to some people, I haven't been through bad things, but I totally understand, Cheryl, what you're saying about going through stuff to be able to give it back. You know.
Yeah.
You have to. It's give and take, isn't it? It's all about balance.
Yeah. It's having empathy for other people.
Exactly, empathy.
They not necessarily have gone through what they've gone through, but you've gone through something similar. So you can say for that, because a lot of people who come to see me or work with me, it's things I can relate to. It's depression, it's grief, it's loss, it's chronic fatigue. It's all these things I've been through myself that I have an understanding and a bit of empathy for. So you'll find that as well, the people that come to you who need to find you, there's usually a link somewhere. There's an understanding in the background that you will have that's why they found you.
And this is definitely a thing in regards to working spiritually that I have found, is that it isn't the fluff and the love and the light and the blessed bees and all those fluffy terms that get used. There's so much work that you do, not just on your journey and learning your craft, but it's the inner work that gets done. And that can be incredibly destructive at times, can't it, girls?
Honestly, the things you go through to come out the other side, people really, unless they've been through it themselves, they don't have an understanding of just how horrific it can be for some folk. But they still do it. They do the work. And you have to commend them on it, because it's not nice, it's not easy. It'd be so easy just to switch off and go in the other direction, think, you know what, I'll bury my head in the sand and I'll not deal with this. So I applaud anyone who's going through it or has been through it, and just say, just well done, because it's not an easy thing to do.
I think for me, I seem to meet people or spend a lot of time with people that are going through stuff, or people talk to me about their stuff. And then I'll find myself in a position where somebody else is talking to me about something that I've already heard from someone else, It sort of bounces, it's like it bounces off and on, off me and on me.
Yeah, but it's an evolution as well. So you think you've dealt with one lot of stuff, and you'll find those people get drawn to you, and you can utilise that in a better way. And then the next thing you think, that's okay, I'm sort of plateaued. I'm good. I know where I'm going. I know where I'm working. I know what I'm resonating with. And then all of a sudden, there'll be a shift.
Yep.
And it'll bring up a whole new load of crap. And you think, God, I thought I dealt with this. Or I didn't even know I had to deal with this. I mean, I'm going through a process of having to unlearn unknown belief systems, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes.
That's a great one. I'm loving this journey.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. Just the number of people that I know that are just going, I've believed this for so long, but you know what? I think it's a load of crap. It's turning out to a load of crap. Yeah.
You don't even realise sometimes that you have that belief system in place. That's actually where I'm quite taken aback at times, because I think it makes you question so much within yourself, this spiritual journey, doesn't it?
Yeah, all the time questioning.
Yep.
One day I feel, everything's brilliant, it's all going fabulously, and then something might happen, just a tiny little thing, like I might burn the toast, or something really ridiculous. It's minuscule, and then I suddenly start to think, oh no, I can't do this anymore. I can't, it's just a tiny thing that knocks you. It's like an emotional roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a spiritual, emotional roller coaster.
Totally relate, because I have to put my hand up here and say I've had a bit of a shitty week, to be perfectly blunt, because I had something happen at the very beginning of the week, and I reacted. I didn't do my normal stand back and actually be sensible about it. I completely reacted. The other person reacted. Neither of us reacted particularly well, and it all blew up. And then it happened the next day with somebody else. I'm like, right, okay, what the heck is all this about? Because I don't normally behave like this anymore. So, yeah, interesting week. I've got all sorts of things coming up, and I'm questioning a lot of the stuff that I do.
But this is a lot of thing going on at the moment in the universal point is setting boundaries and questioning your boundaries and resetting your boundaries, and actually having the strength to put those in place, isn't it, Cheryl?
Absolutely. I am a big one. I mean, people who know me know I talk about boundaries all the time. Mm-hmm. There is a belief system out there, and people are welcome to have this, that we shouldn't have boundaries, everything should be open, love is everything, and all the rest of it. We are heading towards that, but we ain't there yet.
No.
I've had to develop really, really, really particular, specific, really powerful boundaries around myself, around my online stuff, around everything I do, because I couldn't do it.
Can you just elaborate for me what you mean by boundaries?
Boundaries, it's where I will and will not allow things into my energy system.
Yeah.
Say, for example, if I didn't have any boundaries, anyone could get in and out of my energy, leave things, take things, all the rest of it. I've been there when people who didn't have permission to be in my energy were there. I had about a year to 2 years of taking all that back out, reversing things out, doing a lot of past life work as well, because there was all these connections. It was really messy. So over time, my team, and by my team I mean my dragons and everybody else, have stepped in and shown me how to put boundaries and wards and all sorts around my energy, around my home, around my online spaces as well. So that
part of grounding and protection.
Boundaries. Oh, massively. Yeah. Massive. It's a huge big thing. It's something I'm going to be taking forward in the next couple of months, because they've been showing me something I have to write, which is absolutely fine. So a lot of people ask questions about this, because when you start on this journey, I hate that phrase as well. I've just fallen right into it, the journey phrase.
Oh, we're all on the journey.
Find another way of saying it. Hate that term. Anyway, where was I going with that? Yeah, they showed me that if I didn't have that in place, these were the repercussions. Mm-hmm. So I was shown at the very beginning, I would have anywhere up to about 20 layers of different forms of light around me, because that's what I needed at that time. I've got to the point now that my intent is enough, and I have to be very specific. So say, for example, I have an intent on a Facebook page that any energy that is not 100% pure light or is in direct opposition to my own energy is not allowed into that space. It won't get in, because the intent is set. It won't get in. I have so much around my house, myself, and all the rest of it, that I actually have an early warning system if someone's trying to intentionally get into my energy without permission. Because and this is the other thing, a lot of people will send energy here, there, and everywhere. Unless I have permission to send to that person or do that work on their behalf, I will not do it. Again, because I've been through somebody being in my energy without permission and pulling information and putting stuff in and all the rest of it. So I would never, ever do that to somebody else, because I know how that feels. So if you have boundaries in place, the best thing I can say to you is to make sure that you actually stick to them. It's quite easy to put a boundary in place and then over time it fizzles out and then things start happening. Make sure that you keep that boundary up and running. Yeah. And a lot of people say, it's just a rule, it's this, it's that, the next thing. No, it's a safety measure because of the work that I do, what I work with, that I can't have that open to everybody. It just won't work like that. It's not safe. It's not sensible. So I don't do that. Again, it's people's choice. You can do what you want to do. You can have things in place if you want them. If you don't want them, that's up to you. But I can't do the work I do without them. Absolutely.
I totally agree. I have quite a lot of boundaries in regards to how I work.
Absolutely. Have
Claire?
to.
Yeah, definitely. I have boundaries. I do my grounding protection every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like your dragons are there every day. I have 2 guides. I have a group of guides, but I have 2 particular ones at this moment, who are encouraging me to work with my ascension and all that kind of stuff. So it was when Kerry asked me to co-host and you were talking about dragon ascension, I was really interested in that, because that seems to be a massive thing for me at the moment.
Like a chink in the armour, and they're in there, love.
Yeah, I know. And I've just been reading about. I've just done it actually. I've just been reading about bringing down the chakras from, I think, 8 to 15. Have you done? So you're aware of all that stuff. So, yeah, that's new for me. But since I've done that, oh my gosh, I'm on a whole different vibration, man. I feel like I'm totally just beaming from the inside out, but I don't, but I feel like I'm almost in 2 places. Like I'm in my spiritual place and I'm in my real life place, and it's really hard. I feel like it's completely split between them.
Yeah.
To that point where you can bridge them both again. It is doable. You can bridge them.
Yeah, have just
I really
learning
to
get used to that vibration shift.
Yeah, because you can switch it off or tell them to sod off, because I do that quite frequently and say, right, you know what, to break from this, you'll go and do what you need to do. Leave me alone. I'll tell you when I'm ready and you can come back. And it's the same, I'll take a break off social media, because it's a case of, you know what, this is too much. I need to sort myself out before I come so volatile I say something I regret and can't take.
But that's again, that's a boundary thing. You don't just have boundaries in your day-to-day life, in your, like we'll class it as a 3D world. You also have to have boundaries in regards to your spirit team that you work with. And if we talked earlier in the show about them bombarding you with stuff that they want you to do, and you just start working on something, and then something else will come in, and we're like, hang on, I haven't even finished this one yet. And then it's something, and you're like, no, enough, everybody. You want me to do all this stuff. You've got to allow me the time to do it. I'm not working in the same time frames that you're working in. So you need to stop it. And that's a boundary. That's a boundary you need to set with them as well. And if you are working spiritually, to anybody out there, and you're finding that you're becoming overwhelmed by the demands of that, I would say don't ever be scared. They're not going to go away forever. They will leave you alone and let you get on with the projects that they've set you, as long as you get on with it. If you just then go, okay, they've gone, I'll have a relax, put my feet up, have a cup of tea, then they'll come back full force at you, because you're not doing what they need you to do or work in the way you want to do. But you are allowed to have boundaries, not just in like the 3D world, but in your spiritual world as well. That's incredibly important sometimes.
One of the most important things that I've heard from Spirit in the last couple of years is, when you commit to them, they commit to you. Yeah. So when you've shown your commitment to them, you've worked hard, they'll give you a break, exactly like you said, Kerry. You just say, hang on, there's too much going on in my 3D world, in my actual physical world. I need a break. Or they'll know, if they work closely with you, it's like having really close family, isn't it? They'll see that you're struggling, and they'll step back and give you that little bit of a break. Or
they give you the nudge to say you need to take a break.
Yeah, I mean, they do work really closely with you, but it isn't wrong if they are putting those demands on you to actually say, I need to get these projects you've sent me finished.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's that. Right, ladies, I want to move on quickly because we are running out of time now. Meditation is a huge part of what you both do. Mm-hmm. Well, all three of us do. Now, Cheryl, you've been doing some live. This has been a bit of a comfort zone thing for you, isn't it? You've been doing some live meditations.
I read this about you earlier, and I was quite sad I missed it.
This was a fascinating thing. This is teenage fears that I was working through, or having forced to be worked through, and it's this fear of being seen, being heard, and being videoed. because I hate people taking photos of me. It's an energy thing. I get that now. I didn't get it then. And it was a case of, go and just do a meditation. Just go and do a Facebook Live. And they were nudging me with their elbows as they were doing it. Just go and do it. And I'm like, bugger off. I'm not doing it. Just do it. No, just do it. Oh, fine. I'll go and do it. So I did. And you know what? It was fine. It was absolutely fine. I have blasted through that in a matter of minutes. This is years and years and decades of stuff that's been sat there. And they blasted through it in 5 minutes. I was like, seriously? But I did chicken out slightly because I did the first one. It was in a small closed group. I thought it's only 400 folk. That's fine. I can do it for 2 minutes and nobody will see it. Half an hour later, how the hell am I speaking for half an hour? But no, they made me do live meditations, and it was the dinosaurs that came through. So I did it on my main page, and it went well. And yeah, it's been an interesting one, which is why this particular conversation I'm having with Kerry and Clare right now isn't phasing me, because if you'd asked me to do this 3 months ago, I'd been, oh, no, can't do that. I would have been in a complete panic. So yeah, it's interesting when they make you push these old fears and they blast through them in seconds. You're like, well, why didn't you do this 20 years ago? What was all this wait about?
I totally with you. Completely understand what you're saying.
But it was just like, making me talk.
It feels good though, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel good to get through a fear?
It's absolutely brilliant, because this has been weighing me down for years. And it's like, you know what? I can listen to myself on camera. I can watch myself on camera, and I don't feel the urge to put my fist through the screen. This is pretty good going.
Well done.
Thank you. So anyone else who's ever thinking about doing a Facebook Live, just do it. Just do it. Don't care what you look like, all the rest of it. Just do it. It doesn't matter.
Okay, I might then.
I'll be watching for that.
Just be brave. Even if it's just for the first 2 minutes, just do it, and you'll be fine. You'll get over it very, very quickly, and just think, right, this is fine. This is another form of communication. I'll go with it.
I love it. I love how I read earlier that you'd written about facing your fear, because I write about facing my fear all the time, and that's kind of what got me off the starting block, was because I kind of went last year, right, that's it. I'm going to face my fear. I'm going to get myself out there. I'm going to start getting up in front of big groups of people and doing a Facebook blog and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely same as you. Terrified me.
Yep. And I bet you feel better about it now.
But I totally get when you were like, they were nudging you forward. I get that too. That's exactly what it's like. They're like, right, do this now. Oh no, I don't want to. Do it now.
I'm a lot stricter with my lot than you girls are. I'm telling you now.
Maybe that's where you're going wrong, Mrs.
Yeah, this could be where I'm going wrong. They're very sheepish around me at the moment. I tell you, well, everyone seems to be a bit sheepish around me at the moment. Maybe I'm sending out the wrong vibe at the moment. I don't know. Oh. Anyway, Claire, you wrote a book. You've written a mini book recently.
Well, recently last year.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, but yeah, just a little mini book about meditation, and it's just meditation my way. Yeah. So not just some meditations that I put together myself, just some tips and techniques that I use, that I do myself, that I've just learnt my own way, really. So it's just meditation my way.
And where can people get hold of this book? Because I've only just realised you've got this book out there. It's only a mini book. It's a bit like Ashley Nibbs, bearing in mind they are cousins. It's a bit like one of those little books, but they're really handy. They're really handy little tools. So, Claire, just a quick plug. Where can they get your little meditation book from?
Oh, my goodness. Well, you can contact me on Facebook, for one. They're not actually out there, like, on a bookshelf anywhere. But so if people want one, they need to contact Claire Hinks Medium on Facebook. And okay. I will get one sent.
Fabulous. Now, Cheryl.
Yes.
You have a couple of sites on Facebook as well where people can see your work and buy crystals.
Yes.
Now, the crystal side of it, I just want to talk to you about that quickly, because there's been a little bit of a thing going on. You do a pre-loved Facebook page, yes, don't you? And you have people who want their collections to move on, and they basically allow you the platform. Or no, you allow them the platform to move on pre-loved crystals, don't you? So can you talk to us quickly a little bit about that?
Yes, it's a curious one, again, because I had never had any intent of selling crystals. I knew too many people that were doing it, and I would have just run away from it. But long story very short, a friend of mine was moving on a massive 10-year collection, and she was just going to give it away. And I sort of intervened and said, do you want me to try and just move them on for an energy exchange? Otherwise, you're going to be completely stymied, because if there's no money changing hands, there's no energy exchange. It's really unbalanced. So she trusted me. She said, right, okay, we'll do it. I opened the group just to move her stuff on, and 2 years later, it's still running. I'm selling on behalf of 15 people because they don't have the time, the energy, or the health to do it on themselves, so I do it on their behalf. And it's such a busy group. It's almost 24/7 care that group needs. But everything in there is previously owned or previously loved, or it's had a caretaker before. There's nothing new on that group. But it's this thing about boundaries. The amount of rules I have to have for this group is through the roof. But that's after 2 years of working really hard at this space. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And the stuff that goes up is, you can't believe half the stuff that goes up. And yeah, I absolutely love it. And with what happened at the beginning of the week, I very nearly stepped away from it. But then it was like, you know what? I'm going to keep going, because I actually do enjoy this, and it's a service for other people. I don't do it for me, it's for other people. And my job really is to be that step between the previous caretaker and the new caretaker for that crystal. That's my job, is moving that crystal to the right person. But yeah, it's a fascinating one. It's certainly opens your eyes up, that one.
And there has been some absolutely stunning pieces go up on that page. I keep my eye on that page. I've even bought a few bits off of that page for work that I'm doing. So, there has been some amazing pieces on there. So, guys, I've shared the links into the chat room. So if you want to go and have a look, please feel free, as well as the Dragon Ascension Therapies page that Cheryl works as well. Makes you ever so busy though, don't it, love?
On Facebook constantly.
I know. Sometimes you think, God, I just want to get off Facebook.
I just want a couple of days break so they can let me write.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
Oh. Yes, we all know that feeling.
Yeah, we all know that feeling, don't we, ladies? And Claire, I'm just going to share your page as well, if I can find it. There it is. So, going forward, where are you going forward next, Cheryl?
Well, that's a blinking good question. There's more dinosaur stuff coming forwards. This is, like I say, the last couple of years I've been working with it, so they're asking to be brought through, so that's what I'm doing. But my dragons have stepped forward again in the last couple of months, and I know I have a course to write, and it's about energy basics. So that's going to be an interesting one, because it's all about the boundaries that we've spoken about and protecting it and clearing your energy and all the rest of it. So that's to be written. I don't know what kind of format it's going to go out as, but that's kind of what's coming up the sort of the loudest at the moment for me. So that'll be curious.
It's always good fun with what's coming next, isn't it? Now, Claire, just a quick shout out, honey, because you have got a massive event coming up very, very soon called Sage Paracon, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Well, MJ has put that together, the founder. Yes, so Sage Paragon at Warwick Castle, or 22nd, 23rd, 24th of September. I think they still have a few tickets available. Not many, guys. So if you want to go, then you're going to have to go and get them quick, because they are selling fast, I believe. They are, yeah. So lots of amazing speakers: David Parry, John Zaffis, Nikki Folsom. There's I can't even remember them all. Me, terrified little me.
Terrified little you, bless you. You're going to be absolutely awesome. Now, really next week on Parasearch Radio, we have got some amazing shows coming up for you guys. On Monday, we have the replay show of the Parasearch UK radio show that previously airs on our American sister channel, and that is with the Oddity Files. Then on Tuesday, we have got Paranormal Concept with Rob Lee and Kev Kerr talking about skepticism in the paranormal field. On Wednesday, it's Haunted Histories, and that one's all about Tyneham Village. On Thursday, we've got the KTPF Reload Show. I'm still waiting to hear the topic on that one. And on Friday, the Dark Mirror Show is, we're looking at the paranormal beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. That one should be quite a fun. And then on Sunday, next Sunday, I have actually got a couple of brothers coming on called the Law Brothers. They're on YouTube. Check them out before next week. So before we go, I want to say thank you so much, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. It's been lovely.
It's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you to everybody that joined us in the chat room. Just a quick shout out. Adam Hinks has been in the chat room.
That's my boy.
And Ashley. So it's been a family affair for Claire tonight. Richard has been in there. So has Kaz Rooney. So has Ashley Mortimer. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we shall see you throughout the week on Parasearch Radio. Take care. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.